and welcome to another episode of a Help Is Here podcast. Today we are going to be responding to a YouTube comment where someone was asking for us to do a bit of a video talking about kind of the opposite of Femdom and Femdom, perhaps more related to an OnlyFans addiction where people are paying the woman to do what the man wants the woman to do, basically. Or I guess it could be a man paying a man. So yeah, maybe I shouldn't have even said woman there. But anyway.
Reverse Femdom.
Reverse Femdom. What a crazy topic. All right, yeah, let's do it. Here's the YouTube comment. Hey, do you think you could do a video exploring how porn can lead to desires related to making someone submit or having power or authority over them through the use of money as leverage to do so? An example would be paying OnlyFans models or cam girls to do certain things for you to mimic the kind of power dynamics certain types of porn have. I know you've done videos on Femdom and Findom, but would it be possible to do a video on not wanting to submit, but rather the opposite through using money as leverage and how this power trip can lead to compulsive behaviour? I want to say a big thanks to whoever has commented this. I don't know you personally, but it helps us create these videos and hopefully it can help you get a clear understanding of our perspective on this particular topic and help many other people out who are wondering the same sort of thing. So cheers for the comment. Mary, let's get into it. What's your first initial thoughts having read that comment just then?
Well, my first initial thought is it's not really, relevant. Like, okay, now you're going to pay her for you to submit, pay her for you to dominate, whatever. I mean, I don't think that these OnlyFans ladies care as long as you're paying them, right? They're going to do whatever you want. They're not really doing anything because they're on a screen. It's all compulsion, I mean, it's all probably stems from porn compulsion or just being engaged sexually on a screen or whatever it is, but it doesn't really matter. You could, pay them to sit there and eat peanut butter. They're going to do it. You know what I mean? It's like, it doesn't really matter. I mean, why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they pretend? It's all pretend. It's all virtual. Why wouldn't they pretend to be submissive? These women, it's not that they're compelled or they have this investment in dominating you. They're taking advantage and exploiting your own compulsion, right? They'll do whatever you want. So I don't it doesn't really matter to me. I mean, I'm sure they'll do it. I mean, I don't know. I've never engaged with a OnlyFans girl. I don't plan on it or anybody else, but that's what they're there for. They're there to make you think that what they're doing is actually real. And if you're going to pay them, they're going to do whatever you want. They'll take on whatever role you want them to, right? So,
yeah.
What is the question exactly? I'm sorry, I went on a tangent without even maybe understanding the question. And I do want to address the person's comment directly, but that's my first take on just what I heard you say. So, yeah.
I think the question in particular is maybe how this power trip can lead to compulsive behavior. So maybe how someone could then develop the desire to have the power over other people, maybe in a sexual way in particular.
Oh, but okay.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense too, because the thing is like with any addiction, with the tolerance cycle, it's like, okay, well now she's doing the dominating and that's, I've had my fill of that. So now because addiction's insatiable, now I want something different, right? Now I want to take the power. So it's not, again, the details of the interaction are not really that relevant. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, so then what? Now you've got the power. Now that's good, or you feel like you have the power because it's all fake, right? But it's now what's going to be the next thing when you get tired of that one? When that's insatiable, now what? You're going to go out and find someone in real life that you can really dominate and whip and whatever the hell they do with the dominatrix crap, So I just feel like it's if you have this compulsion that you want to do these things with these OnlyFans people or women, and you're putting all this money into it, and it's obviously probably harming your life in some way, I would think that that's not not something that's really serving you and making you happy in the long run or whatever. It's asking all the wrong questions about, well, what about this? What about that within the compulsive behavior rather than going, maybe I want to get out of this compulsive behavior and really look at what I want for my life, you know?
100%,
So
100%. I mean,
that's kind of what I think. Yeah.
inside of the Beyond Compulsion method, we talk about how people are involved in a psychological, emotional dependency on a mind, mood altering experience. And so I want to bring it back to that within the Beyond Compulsion method. It's a
Sure.
mind, mood altering experience. So what does that mean? Well, it basically means the problem's going on in the mind. And it doesn't really matter what the external object of compulsive desire is. That isn't really that relevant because it could be anything. For a lot of people, it's food. They're overeating, eating excess amounts of food, right? Some
Right.
people, it's nicotine, or, they're vaping all the time, they're smoking cigarettes all the time. Some people, it's weed. It could be alcohol. It could be
Gambling,
heroin.
bad
It could be a million
relationships.
different
Yeah.
things. And so within each one of those different sort of subcategories of compulsion, there's more subcategories and more subcategories and more and more and more. And you could end up with, honestly, like an analysis of probably a million different potentially compulsive behaviors. And we could kind of delve into the nitty gritty on all these different things. But our work is very, very focused on, well, your mind's involved in a psychological, emotional dependency on a mind's mood altering experience. Essentially,
Yeah.
there's a behavior in your life that you want to do. You also want to stop it. Okay. So how do you deal with that problem? How do you deal with the fact that you want to stop a behavior and you keep on feeling out of control and engaging in the behavior that you want to stop? And so that's
Yeah.
where we would come in and provide an
Yes.
education to help someone solve that
Yeah.
specific problem.
Yeah.
So hopefully that clarifies things a little bit.
Yeah. How am I going to stop? And the thing is if you're all good with that and you got endless flow of cash and you really are getting everything you want out of paying OnlyFans to do whatever different thing, then great, do that. But if it's harming your life and you'd like to stop doing it, then maybe the question isn't, well, whatever it is, how do I go to, is it, I still don't understand the question. I'm such a cretin. Okay. So it, I think because the question is so irrelevant within the big context of, do you want to stop doing this? We can help you, teach you how to do that. But we can't really answer like, what's the difference between now I want to dominate versus have her dominate? That's kind of an unanswerable question, which is what we would call it within the Beyond Compulsion Academy. So, yeah, it's kind of hard to really, maybe clarify and answer that question. I think the real question is, would you like to stop doing this? And part of you will want to stop, part of you wants to do it, which is the part of you that wants to do it, the addictive part of the mind. That's the part that's trying to analyze the behavior, down to the nitty gritty of the, you dominating versus her dominating, whatever. It's like, but then if there's part of you that wants to stop, then that's a compulsive behavior. In that, within that dilemma, we can teach you how to get free of that. If that's something that you want, So,
Yeah. I think
yeah.
it comes a little bit back to the misconception around the reason people engage in compulsive behaviors as well, because
Yes. Yeah.
often people think that the reason they're engaging in some kind of sexual compulsive behavior in particular is maybe due to childhood trauma or sexual
Yeah.
fetishes or sexual templates or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Whereas we don't really see things in that light. I mean, there may, sure, there may be some childhood and maybe everyone's got a different particular
Yeah.
interest for sure. Maybe that's the true thing, maybe it's not. But for us anyway, it's like, well, how do you stop engaging in that behavior? And when you solve
Yeah.
that element, you no longer really have those questions like, why did I look at that content? Like, I've been quite open on YouTube and with the podcast, sort of sharing the sort of things that I've looked at in the past. And in fact, a few of the things that I've shared that I've looked at in the past are things that, there's only really a handful of people on the whole entire internet that would actually publicly talk about, the fact that they've looked at such things. So kind
Yeah.
of shows how rare it is to do that. And the reason I've been able to do that so comfortably knowing that even like my mum and dad might click on those videos and like people in the office at work sometimes ask me like, what's your YouTube channel? I'm just like, yeah, it's Beyond Compulsion Academy. Like the reason I'm able to do that so comfortably is because I know the reason that I used to look at that content isn't really to do with like sexual tastes and preferences that much. It's more just, you know, I was in an addiction, and that's kind of where you end up when you're in that tolerance cycle. You're always wanting more and more and more. And look, if I had a shit ton of money when I was in the porn addiction, I think there's a very good chance I would have paid some women to do all kinds of things on OnlyFans as well. It's just, I didn't really have the money, so I couldn't afford that option. So I had to seek out like free Femdom content on YouTube and whatnot. So yeah, it's not really to do with like the sexual taste that much. It's more about the tolerance cycle,
the childhood trauma. Like the guy that was commenting, telling us that it was like, you know, Freud said the femdom guys are born this way, or femdom, whatever, either one of them. They're born this way and it's just who they are and all that kind of stuff. It's like, I feel like, you know, the extremes, the the doms, right? And just whatever the real extreme content. You know, I just always think about the food compulsive guy that I worked with, who basically would suck the jelly out of the donuts and re-inject them. You know, it just gets to this extreme because addiction is insatiable, right? So now you're going to look for the next thing that's going to alter your state, that's going to change the way you feel. And you want to change the way you feel because you're involved in this compulsive behavior, and the pathways you know, they want more, they want more, they want more. So yeah, good stuff. Yeah.
Just to wrap up as well.
Yeah.
On the bit about the power trip, just as like Mary was saying there, you know, when you're in a compulsive sort of behavior, sort of pattern, you know, you're in the addiction, you are going to want more and more and more. And so, yeah, you may be looking at the sort of vanilla, let's say, vanilla content on like a porn site, and then maybe you get into like just some mild sort of stuff on OnlyFans, perhaps, but you are going to want more and more and more. And so what it is it's more like you're after a certain feeling. You're wanting a more of a mind-altering feeling. And so that's why you may be compelled and have that desire for like that sort of feeling of more power over someone. It isn't really about the particular, you know, sexual taste side of it. It's more that that's probably going to alter your mind even further, because now you've become so used and accustomed to seeking out just kind of vanilla porn or just like standard sort of porn that's not really doing it for you anymore. So you're still wanting that sort of big hit of like, oh, there's something new, like my mind's getting altered even more. So that's how you could end up, you know, with that sort of desire for the kind of power over someone in an OnlyFans addiction.
You know, I just want to add one thing. I know we're going to wrap up. We got group coming up, but you know, so many people keep on talking about dopamine, and like somehow like you're getting this dopamine from engaging in these addictive behaviors, when if you don't have an addictive behavior, your dopamine is it's kind of in a normal place, occurs naturally within things, but they're like, oh, like I need to get this dopamine rush. Well, the dopamine, it comes from, you know, giving into that addictive behavior and temporary relief, because it's so uncomfortable if you're trying not to do it, right? And you don't have a way to deal with that wanting, it's so uncomfortable that when you give in, you think, whoa, look at that, I get that big dopamine rush. It's like, well, I think people need to stop that focus on the dopamine, if you know what I'm saying, because you hear it all the time now, that people are always referencing it. And it's like, if you don't have addictive neural pathways, it levels out, and you get dopamine from doing normal things that make people feel good, that make, you know, going out in nature and seeing the sunlight and whatever. It's like a normal occurring, you know, chemical in your brain that you get. But people have gotten so conditioned, I think, to like the compulsive and addictive behaviors that they think, oh, this is what I'm seeking, right? Well, it's not really a good thing to be seeking, you know, just like your dopamine's going to like level out. You can deal with an addictive behavior, but what seems like that big rush is giving in that temporary relief from that intense compulsive addictive wanting that you're having, you know. But once you deal with that and you change those pathways, you don't have those it's just not a thing anymore, you know? So yeah,
I
I just wanted
mean,
to add that because I've heard it a lot lately. So yeah,
it's so far away from the present moment and everything we teach. Like, we would never really talk about dopamine inside the Beyond Compulsion method. So I'm
yeah,
a bit apprehensive about even talking about it that much. But in the dopamine language as such, you know, if you are in that world, I think what you're getting at there is that when you're in an addiction, your like dopamine baseline is so messed up because you've
yeah,
got
exactly.
accustomed to like seeking out sexual content more and more. So
Yeah,
then what you're seeking is just temporary relief from like your discomfort because your brain is so messed up. And that's why
yeah,
you have such strong desires as well. It's because it feels so uncomfortable when you end up actually just, you know, basically being still or like not
yeah.
always like seeking more and more and more.
And is it even dopamine? I mean, why is that even relevant? So maybe the scientists can go, oh, okay, when someone gives into an addictive desire, they get more dopamine fires in their brain or whatever, but who cares? It doesn't even matter. You know what I mean? Get off the dopamine thing, deal with the fact that when you have addictive desire and you give in, you get temporary relief, and that's all you're getting. And then you get a whole bunch of negative consequences as a payoff. It's really shouldn't be the focus. But yeah, I'm glad that we brought it up because like I said, there's a lot of people that talk about it like it's something they have to get, like some, you know, "Oh, you'll get your, you know, your brain's going to go back to kind of a normal state of releasing dopamine and more normal situations, not within, you know, addicted neural pathways. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Just a
Good
final
stuff.
point as well,
Yep.
actually, on dopamine is the reason I'm so against talking about it nowadays is because I see dopamine as a bit like a vehicle's engine, let's say. And so you could like measure and monitor and analyze all of that. But a lot of the research and data around like dopamine is based on studies on like animals, and it
Yeah.
extrapolates this data from like
Yeah.
studies on rats from like the 80s or whatnot, and it's just
Yeah.
like ridiculous. And the key thing that we really focus on is the human mind, and the key distinction that we have as humans is we do have that ability to think through choices and make decisions in a rational way.
Yeah.
And so we're a little bit like instructors who provide tools to enable someone to drive a car. And so let's say we're a driving instructor and we provide someone with the skill to drive a car safely. Well, why would we then talk about the vehicle, like the engine? Because that has nothing to do with them actually being in control of the car and driving the
Yeah.
car safely. It's like a different skill set entirely. And, you know, I've shared that metaphor a little bit in the past. I don't want to get into it too much now, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's relatively important, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. I just feel like the most important thing is understanding that temporary relief rather than, ooh, I get the dopamine rush. No, you're getting temporary relief from addictive desire, but that's going to come at a very high cost. And we can help you get out of that mess. So, yeah, good
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
And if you're unsure on how much porn is impacting your life, then I would recommend taking the compulsion test to get a
Yeah.
free score out of 100. So I'll leave a link to that below. Thank you for the comment once again. Thank you for listening.
Thank
And
you.
we'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.